Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the blockchain backer bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. And today we'll be taking a look at the Bitcoin price chart and the altcoin market. Today is the last day of 2021. Tomorrow marks the new year, so happy new year to everyone as 2022 kicks off. I'm excited for the new year to come. December has been kind of a rough month over here in the cryptocurrency market. So earlier this week, we showed what has happened as New Year's kick off in the crypto market, that they typically favor the bulls. I think we're all looking for that type of price action to show up here in the crypto market. Since it is December 31st, I did add the market update over here on bcbacker.com. That is available to anybody enrolled in the course and anybody who newly enrolls in there. December 31st, Bitcoin and Ethereum's 4.236 extension reach the altcoin market's final puzzle piece. So that has been uploaded. That is 23 minutes long over here on bcbacker.com, which we talked about the price action from December and looking at the cryptocurrency market as a whole and how crypto has performed throughout history, the missing puzzle pieces that are going on right now in the cryptocurrency market, especially in relation to what we're missing right over here in the altcoin market. And how at the tops of each cycles we've seen that the altcoin market has a tendency to rise. So 2021 has been an interesting year. We've watched that Bitcoin has followed, for the most part, what we've seen Bitcoin do in previous super cycles. And that my thesis and synopsis for what Bitcoin has been doing over the last couple of years has been that we've been following a super cycle, and that the correction or the bear market of 2018 and 19 and 20 was a mere match of what we saw happen in Bitcoin's last previous super cycle, with the bottoms coming in at the same locations and the tops coming in at the same locations, and then a similar structure happening in here, leading to a big old blast out in here. And that 2021, it's really been a washing machine up here for Bitcoin. Ever since Elon Musk made the announcement that Tesla had added Bitcoin to its balance sheet, Bitcoin is essentially at the exact same price right now as when that announcement was made back on February 8th. And throughout 2021, we watched a lot of action happen in the altcoin market, or a lack of action. One of the things that we reviewed last week or the week prior to that was what's gone on with the top 50 altcoins that were there back in February of this year and how they've performed over the course of 2021, and that 90% of them really haven't done anything. And we can see that represented over here on this chart on the right side of the screen, that the altcoin market in general has just been paused out ever since the move up that happened earlier this year. There have been some winners, but for the most part, 90% of the coins haven't done anything from the top 50 since that time period. And so if you look at sentiment of what's going on in the market, you have the majority of participants believing that Bitcoin is going to go on and set new all-time highs in 2022. And you also have a very big sentiment issue happening over here with the altcoin market and people believing that nothing is going to happen in the altcoin market. And I would say that's probably the general consensus of retail investors at this time, is that huge optimism for Bitcoin, huge pessimism for the altcoin market. And for me, that makes me happy because I'm mostly positioned over there in the altcoin market. I do remember what it was like back in March, April, May, and June of 2020, shortly after we had the C19 sell-off, there was huge pessimism. My expectations for Bitcoin were that we'd get up to that $70,000 price level. And back then at that time, I was told that I was irrational, I was irresponsible, it would never happen. It's a pipe dream and just a bunch of hopium, that nothing like that could ever happen. And you have to go back and relive and what that moment looked like over there on the Bitcoin price chart at that time to sit there and be saying, hey, look, the extensions, the reach outs, the measurements, all of it says that we're going to go up there to those 4.236 extensions. But the narrative was really bad. The sentiment was really bad. And the consensus was that Bitcoin was going to drop down to, $2,000, $1,000, that the dream was up. We'd already gone through a really long bear market. It was just not going to happen. And then I'd sit there, I'd come on this YouTube channel like I always do. I draw out the Fibonacci extensions and say, hey, look, you know what? I really think we're going to get it. The good times will come. And then as time progressed, we slowly worked our way up and we worked our way up. And, at the time, it was not easy to feel that way. It was not easy to believe that, we all know what's coming next. We know this big rise is coming next. But at the time, we didn't. At the time, the world was scared. We were in lockdowns. Businesses were closed. And it just wasn't really an optimistic time in life at that point. But then suddenly, as the end of 2020 came in, the prices really started to explode. And then boom, here we are in 2021. And this is where things really just kind of kept going, getting up there. But for the most part, once we got into 2021, we just became a really big washing machine in here. But I'll pause this right there to remind of what it was like back in here. That when we go back to see what times used to be like, it used to be very pessimistic and it used to be no hope, no optimism, things are not okay, and that we weren't going to make it to the promised land. But it took a lot of courage, it took a lot of strength, and a lot of conviction to believe that prices would eventually rise and that we'd be reaching for a 4.236 extension, which, as we all know, here in November and December, the market cap of Bitcoin finally has hit that price level. And as we wrap up 2021, we see similar behaviors of what happens when people buy tops. And, we can kind of get like a micro view of how that happens from looking at what happened with Doge, right? How many people and how many retail investors were buying Doge at 56, 70 cents, right? Buying the top, buying the excitement, thinking it's going to explode. And the reality was they weren't even really chasing very much, right? What were they chasing? They were chasing $1. So they were buying 50 cents, 60 cents, trying to get it to $1. Very minimal percentages, but that didn't matter, right? It was just being part of the movement. And that's similar to what we've had happen with Bitcoin right here, right? Pessimism, it's never going to happen. Bitcoin's never going to these prices. You're just selling a pipe dream and hoping. And then finally, we get up to those price levels. We get up into the 50s and the 60s. And then suddenly a wave of retail investors pours in to buy Bitcoin to chase what? $100,000, right? Minimum percentages, less than 100%. Which, even right here for Bitcoin, a 100% rise was just getting to right there. But nobody wanted to chase it. Everybody was scared of Bitcoin at that time. And as we head into the new year, I sit there and I say to myself, if there's going to be something that's going to happen in the cryptocurrency market, where am I going to go? Am I going to chase things that have already done 4.236 extensions and gone on massive rises like Dogecoin, Shiba Inu, Bitcoin, or Ethereum? Or am I going to go after stuff like this that still has opportunities left in it and things that still have use cases in them? And for me, it's obvious. It's to go after the things that are low. I always talk about, I have Zcash and I have Dash, right? A lot of people don't understand that, and a lot of people don't find the value in privacy. But I find a significant value in privacy. And if we're going to have cryptos that we're going to be using, privacy just makes a ridiculous amount of sense to me. A public ledger where everybody can see what everybody's doing makes no sense to me for money, except for government overreach and government spying and criminal spying and all that. It makes no sense to me. Privacy makes perfect sense to me. And I see a lot of those privacy coins in the same position, right? They have limited supplies just like Bitcoin does. But for me, I chase the stuff that is low. I go after that type of stuff to catch the big fat monster rises. And even way back in the day, it'd be hard to believe it, that Cardano had actually fallen 98%. And it was just looking like a pathetic little whatever you want to call it down in here. But then Cardano went on and did its run too. But when was the opportune time to be buying Cardano? 2 cents, right? 2 cents, 3 cents, 4 cents, 5 cents. All of this is phenomenal opportunity to buy. But the general masses didn't believe that at the time, especially not retail investors. When do most of them come in and buy? They buy after the rise has already happened. It's what we've seen happen over here with Bitcoin. It's what we saw happen over here with Dogecoin as well. It's just typical retail investor behavior. But as we head into 2022, I look at the assets that haven't done that and I say, this is where I want to be heading into 2022. And that goes against the general herd's thought process. The general herd's thought process is buy high because it'll keep going higher. Don't buy low because it's dead. But truth be told, we see that volumes skyrocket when prices are much higher. So the people who accumulate very low have an opportunity to sell it to a ton of buyers at the top because the herd always buys the top. And so cue a bunch of people that are going to be mad at me for saying something like that. But the reality is we all know this. We all know it. Buy low, sell high. But the thing that we don't get told about that is what the narratives are going to be like, what the emotions are going to be like, what the excitement's going to be like, and what the people around us are going to be telling us. We all know it's as simple as buy low and sell high. But when we're living in that moment, it's such a different story. Many times we'll think we're buying low even though we are buying high. Since last year, since 2020, Bitcoin's risen nearly 2,000%. How many people are buying it up 2,000% thinking that they're buying it low? That has a lot to do with narratives and stories and what they see other people doing and what they think is going on. And a lot of times I take it on the chin for saying, I'm buying stuff that's super low. It's like, that's dead. It's never going to happen, man. But the reality is, that's the same thing people said about Bitcoin. It's the same thing they said last year, believe it or not. Last year, 2020. But it happened. Same thing with Cardano. Same thing with Ethereum. Same thing with Ethereum Classic. Man, boy, it looked like a dingus buying Ethereum Classic for $5. Goes to 175. But the name of the game in crypto is patience. And that's hard to do because this is the most volatile market in the world. It's the most chaotic market in the world. And we see it all the time that people can get filthy rich in a matter of days or weeks. But the problem with it is sometimes you have to wait months, sometimes you have to wait years for that moment of that 1 week skyrocket, that 2 week, 3 week long bull run to show up and take place. And that's what happened with Bitcoin. It was 3 years of waiting for all of this. And then where was the real bull run of Bitcoin? Really all just took place in there. Otherwise, it was years of red. Switch that over to red and then really still just that. But the real bull run of Bitcoin took place right there at the end of 2020 and the early part of 2021. And the major beneficiaries of the Bitcoin bull run were the people who bought all throughout this horrible bear market and got to ride that single wave alone. And I learned that a long time ago, that that's what it actually takes to become the winner in the market. To buy a Shiba Inu after it's risen 3,000% or 1,000%, or to buy Elon coin after it's risen 5,000%, hoping to be 5,000% more, something like that. That stuff just it always ends terribly. And even for Bitcoin right in here, whether or not Bitcoin goes to 100,000 that everybody wants, whether it goes to 200,000 that everybody wants, the mathematics and the percentages of all of it make zero sense. Because if we look at from a risk to reward perspective of what Bitcoin does in these scenarios, Bitcoin always crashes at least 83%. So in the end, Bitcoin coming back down here to $13,000 to $14,000 is pretty much written into the cards because that's what's happened every single time. But every single time, what do retail investors believe? They always believe this time is different. Every single time. So this time is different because Bitcoin's going to skyrocket to the moon. And this time is different because the altcoin market's not going to do anything, right? Only a couple are going to win. Even though throughout history, we always see the whole market moves up together. The whole market moves up together. The whole market moves up together. And even dating back to 2013, the whole market moves up together. But retail investors are all in the belief that this time is different. Once again, like the belief system is every time. This time is different. But as we know on my YouTube channel, I try to stick to the facts that this time is not different. I take the gamble and the approach every time that this time is not different. When Bitcoin was $6,000 to believe that it would go to $70,000, well, do you think people in the 6,000s were saying this time is different? Bitcoin's not going to go on a bull run? You better believe it they did, because if you weren't here during that time, then you didn't think it was going to happen. You for certain heard of Bitcoin prior to this bull run. You knew that Bitcoin ran up to $20,000 and crashed, but you didn't believe Bitcoin was going to go on a big bull run. If you're new to this market in 2021, because there's no question you've heard of Bitcoin before, but you believed this time was different. You believed Bitcoin was dead. You believed it was a nothing burger. But then after Bitcoin went on its bull run, you finally believed in it. That's not to take a shot at you personally. This is to show how sentiment works amongst people, even subconsciously. It's how we all feel. And so as we head into 2022 and we wrap up 2021, I'm going forward with the belief system that this time is not different, that the market behaves exactly like it's always behaved. And if you need evidence of it, if you're sitting there screaming, because I see it all the times in the comment section, I should have bought this asset. Instead, I'm stuck in this dingus coin that didn't do anything. 90% of the market didn't do anything since February of this year, right? Just been, a little run up, but then boom, right back down to the lows. But if you want proof that this market still behaves exactly the same as it's always behaved, it's to see this run right here. It is evidently proving it that the market is the same as every single asset on there in the top 50 ran up at the same time. When there is a true altcoin move happening in the cryptocurrency market, every single thing goes. And so if at the tops of each of the Bitcoin bull runs, we see that the altcoin market has a tendency to go on a big run, at least into the retracements, well, guess what? I'm going to move forward thinking that that's what's going to happen again. And am I going to sit here thinking that it's only going to be a select few of them and it's not going to be the whole market? How could I? Look at what the market has done historically. Every single thing goes. And the day that I start screaming that the altcoin market is dead is not just because, it's been trailing off for too long. I guess it's time to say that it's dead. It's going to be whenever it's doing something like that. And I'm screaming, run for the hills, run for the hills, run for the hills. Because I'm not the type of person who sits there and screams, run for the hills whenever a big fat swish to the downside ends up happening. I treat that as opportunity. It's when things start skyrocketing really high is when I start getting very uneasy. And when we have the Bitcoin plus Ethereum dominance setting up so incredibly similar to what happened last time, man, how can you not be excited for the altcoin market at this time? Just look at what that Bitcoin plus Ethereum dominance is doing as we're getting ready to head into 2022. It looks so incredibly optimistic for the altcoin market, forgetting about Bitcoin, forgetting about Ethereum, and giving these guys their chance to get the green light. And I know that does not please everybody to hear that because not everybody's positioned like that. A lot of people buy Ethereum, a lot of people buy Bitcoin after they do these big runs. So to sit here and say Ethereum and Bitcoin, not so much, rest of the altcoin market, let's rip and roar, because it's because of what the sentiment of the market is, right? People buy things that they think are doing well and will continue to do well. They don't buy things that are really lagging behind. And that's exactly what happened with Bitcoin back in 2020. And so as we're finishing 2021 and we head to 2022, I'm just coming at you from the aspect of I'm ready to rip and roar. I'm ready for that moment to show up in the market where we get our opportunity for the rest of the market to go. It's becoming overwhelmingly apparent to me that we're getting ready for that moment to start. And so, peace out 2021, 2022. I'm here for the altcoin market. And while everybody's screaming from their mouth that it's dead, I'm over here foaming at the lips, getting ready for it to skyrocket. Because I've seen this movie before. I've seen what sentiment is like before. And if you think people are sitting there screaming, hey, we're going to go to the moon during a time period like this, you're dead wrong. They do not. They are screaming it's dead. They did it for Bitcoin back in 2020. 2021 caught them all by surprise. That's why everybody bought the top. And as people are doing that for things like XRP and all the other digital assets that haven't gone yet, man, you better believe it. I think the people who have that mindset have capitulated in the wrong direction. I think we're about to see the Bitcoin and Ethereum dominance completely collapse on itself. And we're going to see this altcoin market do what it's always done. And even what it did here in 2021, where literally everything went up together. This time is not different. I will not behave as if this time is different. And it's typically those who think that this time is different are the ones who typically get caught on the wrong side. So move over 2022. Blockchain backers coming in hot. And XRP, the haters. We're going to the moon. So, all right, that's it. Happy New Year, everybody. I hope that you all have a great night. Be safe out there. Obviously, today we'll have our daily close, we'll have our yearly close. We're going into the weekend too, so I'm going to be taking the weekend off, barring any type of crazy price action, as so long as I have some time. As long as it's pretty tame out there, I shouldn't need to come back for the weekend. Over the week, I did lay out what my thoughts are on the short-term price action. I still think there's another little step down here in the cryptocurrency market, which I outlined in yesterday's video and the days prior to that. So if you need to recap on that, you can go watch those videos this week. But otherwise, I'm excited for 2022. I don't think this time is different. I'm going into it with the mindset that we'll see what happens in this market, the things that we typically see happen, and that altcoin market's going to get its shot, including XRP. And you know what? We've been told time and time again, 2022, the year of the SEC and Ripple wrap up. Let's get it done. But all right, guys, that's going to be it. That's going to wrap it up for this one. That's going to wrap it up for 2021. I want to thank you so much for watching my channel. If you're looking for something to do, you can check out my website over here, which is bcbacker.com. This is a course I put together where I deep dive into the previous Bitcoin bull runs, the previous altcoin market cycles, tying them all together to show how this cryptocurrency market has worked in the past. Like I mentioned yesterday, it's like my YouTube videos. So these are just videos of me talking, going through things, trying to teach things in simple to understand ways. I talk about my personal exit plans in here, and I teach you how to set up your own charts and your own indicators within TradingView and CoinTrader Pro. Recently, last month, I added my Ethereum exit plan Part 4 final update and the Blockchain Backer Part 4 progress update. And like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, earlier today, I added the December 31st, 2021 market update. Bitcoin and Ethereum 4.236 extension reach in the altcoin market's final puzzle piece. And you can check out all of this educational content over here on bcbacker.com. You can follow me over here on Twitter at bcbacker, and I want to thank you so much for watching my channel. I don't ever use profanity on my channel, but you know what, man, we're doing it today, and I know that this is a family-oriented channel, so Uncle Blockchain Backer apologizes for that. I'm gonna go put some money in the swear jar. But all right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you could please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the video, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you could be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor, but if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.